trying to learn a language, even if you're not up to fluency, can give you so much insight into the language learning process, and can really, really inform how you approach teaching. And I think it really is. I think it really is essential to do, and to humble yourself and put yourself in your student's position uh, before you embark on this journey.
Okay, let's get started. All right, Alessandra, welcome.
Thank you.
There's so much I could say about you, but I guess I'll just let you take the mic. Could you
Mhm.
present yourself to people watching, please?
Yeah. Yeah. So my name is Alessandra. I started teaching on iTalki and Preply August of 2021. Before that, I was a student at the University of Washington in Seattle, and throughout my university career, I provided private lessons and just private lessons, primarily physical. And then I decided to embark on this online teaching journey last year, because I decided to join TAPIF, which is the teaching assistant program in France. Yeah, and that's where it all starts. And I'm here now talking to yeah, the ambassador of iTalki.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay, well, let's start off. Do you live in America right now, or do you live in France?
Right now I live in France. I'm based in Paris at the moment.
Okay, great.
Mhm,
Alessandra,
mhm.
and when I first saw your name, I thought maybe she's Italian. And then I saw Parker
Uh-huh. Mhm.
after. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have any background learning other languages, for example?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that, because I was introduced to italki as a French language learner. I started learning French back in 2018, and I started learning mostly online. I found online resources and was researching, and I found italki, and I started mostly by building up grammar, of course, and then I worked my way up to taking italki lessons. And I started learning, and it was very motivating to talk to a teacher and be able to start to have conversations. I was not at the conversational level, of course, after only a few months, but it was still very motivating. And so that was how I was initially introduced to italki. And yeah, so I continued learning French up until now. Basically, I feel like I'm still learning. But that was my primary introduction to language learning. And at the moment I'm learning German, and I have attempted to learn Russian, but I've kind of given up on it. And that is my that is my story so far.
Very good. Well, maybe you'll come back to it, right? Because for me, I'm
Yeah.
very like stop go with my language learning. But I mean, you
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
they do say that you lose it a lot faster than you gain it. But I think you regain it
Exactly.
a lot faster than you gain it in the first place, right? So for example, it like
Yeah.
I've taken lessons on iTalki, completely conversational, and I've taken them in six
Mhm, mhm.
languages. And most of those languages, I wouldn't be able to riff off anything for you right now. But if I
Yeah.
went back to studying them for a few months, I definitely get to the conversational level. So who
Mhm,
knows? You
mhm.
may get back to where you were at with the Russian one day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. And I think I've proven that to be true, because during COVID, I didn't really have any kind of motivation to keep learning French. So I think for a period of about six to really almost 6 8 months to about 8 months, I didn't touch French. I didn't really speak French to anybody. And then when I got to Paris, my first day, I was very scared, because I was like, I haven't practiced the language in a long time. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm gonna be lost. And I noticed after only a week being here, it started to come back. and I really realized the importance of practicing, and the amount that you're able to remember. It's much more than you think. And you recall a lot more just by having being in those situations where you are forced to speak the language.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, French is kind of like my first love, and
Mhm, mhm.
well, I guess
Yeah,
it's
you're
more
from
like,
Canada, right? So
yeah,
was it your first language that you had to learn as well?
yeah. Like I was just gonna say, since it was the first one that I had to learn, it was actually my
Mhm,
first
mhm.
probably like hate, because when I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
kid, like I hated
Yeah,
learning it, but it
right.
was the first language I ever started learning. And I feel like no matter how much I learn of another language, French
Mhm,
is always going to have that like spot, because like that deeper spot in my mind, because of the fact that I did have that limited exposure to it in French
mhm,
class as a kid,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But that's not to say that adults can't you know, immerse themselves in a language or
Mhm,
learn a language inside out either. But yeah, I feel like French is kind of like the home base in that department. And you know, for the
mhm,
pandemic, that was the time where I went wild on iTalki language learning. So it's
mhm,
interesting
mhm,
how you had the opposite. It had the opposite effect for you.
mhm.
You kind of wanted to like distance yourself. Is there any reason
Yeah.
why you think that was?
I think it's because, so I had been to France. Had traveled to France a couple times, and I was kind of demotivated by the fact that there were so many travel restrictions. And I thought,
Mm,
when am I ever going to go and use this language? When am I ever going to be able to practice again? And I also was in the last year of my university, so I thought it's better to just prioritize other classes, prioritize other things. So yeah, I think it was mostly that. And then oh, also I was supposed to go to France in I guess it was the second to, yeah, my second to last year, right before COVID hit. And I was supposed to go on a study abroad program through my school, and they canceled it. And I think that was a very that was a very depressing moment for me, because I
oh,
had worked so hard trying to improve my French, trying to perfect it. And then after all that, it just kind of went down the drain. And so it was almost like a way to a way to
oh.
make myself, I guess, how should I say, kind of deal with that. And so I decided to push it away for a while. And then yeah, and then it ended up being I ended up getting another opportunity, obviously, in the end. But it was, yeah, it was kind of my way to deal with that depressive moment, we could say.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Well, I was just making a little bit of an assumption in my own mind, and these interviews are places to kind of break these assumptions as well. I was making a
mhm,
little
mhm.
assumption in my own mind. I see that you're so personable and you seem really friendly, and I thought perhaps it's
Oh, thanks.
because maybe, you know, learning online, like because of the travel
Mhm,
restrictions, you wouldn't be able to like meet
mhm,
people face to face as much and
mhm,
speak,
mhm.
and maybe you are more of a person who would rather you know, have face-to-face interactions. But of course, I'm not putting words
Yeah.
into your mouth. That was just an assumption.
Mhm,
And thanks for sharing
mhm,
your story.
mhm,
Like for me, honestly, I'd love to go to France one day, but I find that my
mhm,
level of French was higher than, if I do say so myself, some people who
mhm, mhm.
actually live in France, like some other expats who
Wow.
live in France, because I was just like taking lessons maybe 5 or 6 times a day, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
some, you could live in a country and not even speak the language, right? So I'm
Absolutely.
totally fine living on the virtual. Like I'm not antisocial. I do like
Mhm,
the
mhm.
face to face, but I am totally fine just like living in the virtual French world or the virtual
Definitely.
German world. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? But at the end of the day, Alessandra, it's nice to meet another person from North America who's learning languages.
Mhm.
Because to me,
Yeah.
learning languages is an important competence. It's an important experience for a language teacher. So I wonder if you could talk about
Absolutely.
that. Has your experience
Mhm.
learning languages affected you at all as a language teacher?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really being a language learner, I think is the most essential piece to being a successful iTalki teacher, quite honestly,
Oh,
because you need that experience to the struggles, the difficulties, the depressive moments where you feel like you're not accomplishing anything or you're not getting far. You have to be able to talk to your students in a way that is personable. You went through those experiences and you felt those emotions. And I think as an American, we are often told like you don't need to learn any other language. English will get you everywhere, and it's a very how should I say, not condescending, but very superior kind of frame of thinking. And and I didn't want to live like that. I remember my first time ever traveling to France by myself, completely alone. I realized the importance of knowing the language, and it's not even about your own survival. It's about the kind of respect you show to locals, to show the respect you show to other people by making an effort to learn their language. And so through that, I think it put me in the shoes of my students. And because of that, being in the classroom, being in this program TAPIF, where I have to teach in a primary school also, in addition to teaching online. I empathize with my students, and I empathize with them because I think France also struggles with some of the same problems that the US does in terms of like this sense of superiority with their language. And they still feel like English isn't very important. And so I haven't been, of course, showing them like, oh, English is very important, but I've been showing them like English is fun. English is uh it is a way to connect to other people, and you can feel this sense of connection, I think, through games, through songs, through culture, through other different mediums. And so I think being in that position of living in a monolingual culture, it's transferred into being a teacher and being comfortable with myself in the classroom.
amazing. Yeah, and just to reiterate, because I brought this up in a few interviews, and for the people who have watched this and are monolingual and
Mhm,
are like strictly not like opposed to learning a language,
mhm.
they're going to
Uh-huh.
hate me for bringing this up again because I find that some monolinguals, even like right now, I'm doing my master's, and most of the class is
Mhm.
incredibly diverse. But I've been in other classes
Yeah.
in the past with like in CTESOL program and
Mhm,
TESOL
mhm.
programs where people they get kind of like nervous, like a little bit
Yeah.
guilty, right? Like a little bit
Yeah,
shameful
yeah.
about not learning a language. And I just want to reiterate the fact that your proficiency level does not matter. Like when I'm talking
Exactly.
about the competency of learning a language, I'm talking about the
Exactly.
experience of learning a language. Like, so for example, you could spend 6 months learning French and drop it. Okay, your
Yeah.
proficiency drops down to zero, whatever. But that experience that you have had is always that experience. You
Mhm.
always are going to have that experience of having to go into a class where you're
Mhm.
nervous
Yeah.
and to make mistakes and to be corrected on your mistakes and to feel the sense of accomplishment of learning a language and to
Yeah.
understand like there's so many things. So I think sometimes monolinguals get it twisted that we're saying you need to have C2. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
the proficiency, it's about the intention and the experience of actually trying to learn, or at least that's how I see it, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and that's why I emphasize it's about the struggles, it's about the difficulties in learning a language, because I mean it is difficult, but if you make the process fun, if you give them a good experience and give them good associations with learning English, that is the most important thing. Because you know that you can't expect yourself to be fluent within within a month, within a couple months, within a year. It's a lifelong process. And I think if you give them these kind of you give them these realistic expectations while also giving them a good experience, it will make it will make your job so much easier, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So patience, responsibility, the
Mhm,
development of these
mhm.
soft skills.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm preaching to the choir
Yeah.
right now. All right, excellent. Let's talk more about italki and Preply, because this
Mhm,
week
mhm,
I've had the absolute pleasure of
mhm.
being a and privileged to be able to speak to teachers who teach on different platforms. So
Uh-huh.
I've spoken to teachers who teach on Preply, on italki, of course, on Amazing Talker, on
Mhm.
Skying, and this other platform
Oh,
called
wow.
Polytripper.
Oh.
And yeah, a couple of these I'd never heard of before, so it's really useful.
Mhm,
So I think this is great that I could speak to somebody who teaches on italki and Preply, because
mhm.
I actually did teach French on Preply. I got to the
Oh,
point where
wow,
I was
really?
an advanced speaker. Yeah, last May I was practicing French so much I was advanced, so I began
Ah.
offering classes on Preply, and I offered a good like tw- maybe 15 or 20 classes.
Mhm,
So
mhm. Oh,
so I'd like to
wow.
know from you, what has your experience been between the two?
Yeah, so when I first decided to apply to Preply, I also applied to italki at the same time, but I think the italki approval process took a bit longer. So I initially started teaching on Preply, and I really had a good experience from the beginning, because of the fact that they promote new teachers very well at the beginning. And I was able to get connected with amazing students that I still have to this day. And it's been really wonderful. And I think the algorithm in that sense has really been in my favor. Whereas with italki, I started out at kind of a low spot because I was approved. My application was approved right when I started vacation, and so I missed out on that like new teacher promotion.
Mhm.
So it took a bit longer to build my profile and get new students. But there have been a couple new opportunities to gain new students. And I feel like in terms of the connections that I've had, the loyalty and the quality, I guess, of the students, or I don't even know how to say it, but I've had really amazing experiences on both, like life changing. My students are really close to me. I feel very, how should I say, I feel like they are my friends in a sense, because
Yeah.
we share so many emotions together. I'm All I want to do is see them grow. And I think it's really changed my perspective on language learning, on even my own career. Like, I never would have considered myself a teacher, even though I had given lessons before. I had been a tutor. I never would have seen myself as a teacher. And I think after this experience, I feel comfortable in this role, and I feel immense gratification from this experience.
That's brilliant. And you use the word friend right there. And it's interesting how like using the word friend has become like a bad word,
Yeah,
and how like that label is something that we try to shy away from as
right.
teachers.
Mhm,
And I think italki and Preply, these kinds of platforms are really revolutionizing the
mhm.
way that we approach these kinds of terms, because I mean, you do want the best for your friends, right?
Right.
If
Yeah.
you're a good friend, you want the best for your friends. And if
Yeah.
you're a good friend, you call them out when they're wrong. And I
Yeah.
understand that a lot of like your students don't want to be your friend, and like that's
Mhm,
completely fine
mhm.
as well. I have
Yeah.
enough friends. but
Yeah.
you know, some of my students, it's impossible for me to not like, how do I find a different label than that when
Mhm.
some of these students have booked with me for 40 classes, 50 classes,
Yeah.
100 classes, and they're like, sending me birthday messages, and I'm
Yeah.
sending them like congratulations on getting married or something like that. And
Yeah.
you know, we're walking them through immigration processes. It's like they are they're friends, they're family, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's good for us. I think it would be nice to break the taboo and the stigma that
Mhm.
surrounds
Yeah.
this label. But at the same time, to walk with caution and to not try to like go into because one
Of
thing
course.
that could happen is that, you know, teachers could get this sense of superiority. Like, I
Right.
get to call the shots and make the rules. And, you know, you're going into classes. Some of these guys have PhDs and have like,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
like certification and experience coming out their ears, right? So it's good
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
kind of, if they don't want to be friend like buddy buddy, it's good to also you know, have a little bit of a reserved approach if
Mhm.
your teacher philosophy kind of could tolerate that, right? Permits
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly right. And I think it is really of course a case by case basis. There are students that are that seem, I guess, a more strictly teacher student dynamic, but I really try to create an environment where I'm on the same level as my students. I don't see myself as this kind of like superiority or the superior figure where I'm the teacher and I have to tell you everything and this is how English works. Um, I do not see it that way at all, and I really see it like I'm learning along with you, and
Mm,
I want to know about your life. I want to know about your industry. I want to know about your experience, and I think that has really kind of opened me up to this possibility of having these like kind of more friendship dynamics because for example I have students who are in the tech industry and I have no background in tech and I've really put an effort into trying to tailor my classes to their work experience and trying to learn this jargon, these tech specific technology. And I developed my own interest in this. And I think having that approach of learning along with your students really humbling yourself in front of them makes them want to be your friend and open up to you even more. So I think yes, of course there may be some trouble in that sometimes, but you have to kind of get a feel for the environment, and it could be really beneficial, I think, in the end.
God, you're like touching on so many things, all the way from building rapport with your students to you know, tailoring your classes to
Mhm.
I just spoke with a man, Osama, who's from
Uh-huh.
Syria, and we were talking about you know, subject specific knowledge,
Mhm.
such as in the tech industry, or like a field specific knowledge
Yeah.
versus language specific knowledge, and how this goes together in English for specific purposes. And
Mhm.
it's yeah, like there's just so much to unpack right there. But it seems like you've had a really, it seems like what italki's given to me, or teaching online has given to me at the end of the day, like we make our own experiences. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what platform, what it only matters so much what the platform does.
Mhm.
But it seems like it's given some of the things to you, like learning as we teach, as it's
Yeah,
given to me, and that's really useful.
absolutely.
Um, Great. How long have you been teaching again in total?
Uh, on iTalki, I've been or just like in general.
In general, yeah.
Well, I really, I tutored here and there from 2016, so I had a bit of experience, but it wasn't like a teacher student dynamic. It was more like I was giving them kind of pointers and advice and helping them through their homework. So I would say only really since August 2021.
Oh wow, miles ahead. You've gone off on a great start, it seems like. So that's brilliant. Um, Great stuff. If anybody watching this wants to learn English, definitely check out Alessandra's profile. I'll
Thank
put
you.
your italki profile here. I'll put your Preply profile. Do you have any other social media channels that I need to share?
No, just iTalki and Preply.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
cool. Is there anything just on the last note that you would like to say to other maybe American teachers on
Mhm,
iTalki or Preply,
mhm.
or North American or native speaker teachers in general? Is there
Yeah.
anything you would like to say to any of those groups?
Yeah, yeah. I would like to, yeah, reiterate exactly what you said before. I think really trying to learn a language, even if you're not up to fluency, can give you so much insight into the language learning process, and can really, really inform how you approach teaching. And I think it really is. I think it really is essential to do, and to humble yourself and put yourself in your student's position uh, before you embark on this journey, or while you're learning or teaching your students. You can learn along with them, and decide to pick up any language. It doesn't matter. I think as long as you go through that process and you can see kind of through your students' eyes, I think uh, that is going to be invaluable for you as a teacher.
Fantastic. Before we finish, I just remembered that
Uh-huh.
before the interview, we were talking
Yeah.
about being a new teacher and the
Yeah. Right.
imposter syndrome that goes with that. So
Right.
actually, before we finish, let's just quickly talk about that.
Mhm, mhm.
As a new teacher, are there any general tips that you would give to other new Preply or Italki teachers or teachers in general?
Yeah, I think like what I said before about being about really humbling yourself, and
Mm,
kind of I think being a teacher has this very how should I say, like it has a, how should I say, it has a profound meaning to it. And so people often are intimidated by it, and they think, oh, well, I'm not good enough to teach someone else, or I don't know enough about English, or I don't know enough about this subject to teach another person. But I think when you realize that you don't have to know everything to be a teacher. You don't have to be an English expert, be a
mm,
grammar expert in order to teach it. Because, like I said, this is a learning process as much as it is a teaching process. And I think to get over that sense of I'm not good enough is to recognize that you'll never be
mm.
good enough, and you just have to do it, and you just have to go through the process and make mistakes, and really, how should I say, really recognize them and learn from them. And it is so cliche, but it's so, so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, exactly. It hurts. It stings saying the cliche things, but
Yeah.
sometimes they're so true that we just have to say them.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for all the cliches, but thank you for the
Thank you.
very insightful, deep explanations you've given today,
Mhm.
Alessandra. And
Of
again, if
course.
anyone wants to book a lesson with her, just check out her links in the box below. Thank you,
Thank you so
Alessandra.
much. Yes.